Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Laetitia Carl. I'm the CEO of Greenly, and I'm with Amy Chong, who is a corporate and product sustainability director at Lyreco. Thank you for joining this webinar where we're going to discuss how Lyreco uses LCAs to measure and reduce environmental footprints. So I think we already have about 30 people. We are just on time, so let's start to make the most of everyone. So, as you know today, there is an increasing pressure to address environmental concerns, whether it's reducing carbon emissions or ensuring more sustainable practices around the supply chain. Businesses today are facing the challenges of not doing just good, but also proving it. And one of the most powerful ways to prove it is to really understand and manage the environmental impact by conducting something called life cycle analysis, or LCAs. So LCAs is a tool that helps you look at the entire journey of a product or a service, by the way, from how it's made, how it's used, and even what happened after it's thrown away. So it means that company can identify which stages of their products are creating the most environmental impact and where they can take action to reduce it. So for companies like Lyreco, who is a global leader in workplace products, understanding these impacts are essential. It's not just to improve sustainability efforts, but also to align with customer expectations, complying with regulations, and staying ahead in a marketplace that's increasingly focused on environmental responsibility. So today, we're going to hear from Amy Chong, who is a corporate and product sustainability director at Lyreco, who will share how they're using LCAs to measure their products' environmental footprint and how this work has shaped their sustainability strategy. So the idea is that you walk out of today's session with a clearer understanding of why LCA is such an important tool for sustainability, insights on how Lyreco is using it to reduce their footprint, and look at the partnership between Lyreco and Greenly to see how we're helping each other achieve these goals. So let's get started. Amy, could you kick things off by telling us a little bit more about Lyreco's sustainability journey and why you decided to take on the challenge of conducting LCAs?
Sure. Thank you, Laetitia. Good day to everyone. Good to see you all here. Like Laetitia just quickly explains, my name is Aini. I'm leading the sustainability efforts in Lyreco. And for those that don't know who is Lyreco, maybe it's good to give you a little bit glimpse on who is Lyreco so that you can see the full context of the information later on. So Lyreco is a B2B reseller in office supplies, the market leader in Europe and also the third largest reseller in the world as well. We're operating in 25 different countries across Europe and Asia. And sustainability is always a key pillar, what we do for the past 28 years. And just now, Laetitia briefly mentioned as well why we start this journey. Actually, the Lyreco sustainability journey has been driven by very strong internal commitment from our senior management, and alongside with the external pressure from transparency, accountability. And since 2021, we also committed to SBTI, Science-Based Target Initiative, to make sure that we align our emissions reductions efforts with the latest climate science. As a B2B reseller, majority of our emissions came from the purchased goods and services. So therefore, we really see a strong expectation from our customer to really able to measure the reductions actions. Regulations become more and more stringent, and above all, we really believe is the right thing to do. So what we do is basically we work across a different type of industry where you can see it on the screens as well, from paper to hygiene to caterings to PPE. And each of them have their own supply chain complexity and also the environmental impact linked to it as well. So for us, to finding a common methodology that we're able to measure the climate impact across all the different sectors, it is a real challenge. And this is the reason why we believe adopting the LCA approach is a right thing, because we're able to measure from a different industry in a very similar methodology. On another hand, we also need a very robust science-based approach to measure this product that we sell. Even though we are not managing ourselves, we also partner with Greenly to start this exercise to measure it on behalf of our supplier.
Great, thank you for this introduction. So now diving into sustainability, can you tell us what was your sustainability journey up to now?
So far, what we focus on this Pete is really majority focus on the climate impact as well. But we foresee in the future, you will see more and more a factor will be future in. Here, just give you a big glimpse for the past 27 years. Our journey is like really, really early. We always want to be adopt the NIFED methodology in a very, very early stage. And here, just give you a glimpse of what we did for the past 27 years.
Good. And so why did you decide to take on the LCA project? How did you decide to reach out to us, and how did it all started?
Actually, we start internally first. We spent quite a lot of time to really checking different type of methodology, understanding it. It's also basically talk to a lot of our customer and supplier, try to find a common ground in here. So just now you briefly mentioned as well, we're working with different type of industry. So it is quite complex. And therefore, we try to choosing a partner can help us out not only from one specific segment or one specific industry, but is really looking the partner can help us to scale up across a different industry. That is where the partnership with Greenly started.
Good. So maybe a word on what is an LCA. How does it work? So basically, the life cycle of a product is in 5 stages: the extraction of raw materials, the product manufacturing, distribution of the products, use of the products, and end of life. With the life cycle assessment, we're basically going to look into each stage of this life and assess the impact of the way we extract, the way we produce, the way we distribute, etc. So there are life cycle analyses that are multi-criteria. When we talk about LCA, it's typically with multi-criteria. So what is the impact on the environment, the biodiversity, water, etc. Or we have some life cycle analysis on carbon only, depending on what people want. At Greenly, the way we address this is by building calculators. So we work with our partners and customers like Lyreco to build a calculator that will describe this life cycle analysis so that Lyreco can then import their data into the calculator to measure continuously the impact of their product. This is a great tool for decision making because you will see what is the impact of changing your distribution. If you decide not to ship them by plane but by other means, you can directly play with this and find out the impact of your actions. You can decide to produce your product differently, to use different raw materials, and this is what we call eco-conception, eco-design, how to design a product that has the minimum impact on the planet. So this is about LCAs. Now maybe on the particular project with Lyreco, Amy, from your standpoint, what are the main technical and methodological challenges that you encountered?
Sure. Very honest, a lot of challenges, but I think that today I'm going to highlight 3 key major ones, which really need a lot of efforts and collaborations across not only internal organizations, but also external ones. First of all, really try to understand the different types of methodology and scope of calculations with different industry. I think this is one of the biggest challenge that we face, to really try to understand different types of LCA methods and the scope that accepted in different industry. So most of the industry, they will say they will do cradle to grave. Some of them, they will say cradle to grave. So everybody have a different expectations here. And that's actually required quite intensive coordinations with our suppliers, with our customer to find a common understanding here. I think the second challenge that we really face even until today as well is how complex is the data collections as a reseller. Lyreco does not produce the product itself. So therefore, for us to really collecting the details, product specific data is quite a challenge for us. It is an effort that basically demands the most persistent and very, very strong supplier relationship and the trust that they have with us to do these calculations. And then the third one that I would highlight here is really translation the calculations result or the LCA result into an actionable insight. Once the LCA result is obtained, it's actually nice to say, great, there's a number to it. But what does it really mean? So this is basically a challenge to make them understandable and actionable for both sides, for our customer and for our suppliers. Lyreco invests a lot of efforts to create these explanations of the LCA itself, the concept itself, but also creating the customer dashboard where we basically can display these informations and help our customer to visualize the impact through their purchase. On another hand as well, support the supplier by identifying the key areas of their emissions reductions based on where they should focus on. A lot of our suppliers kind of really interesting to look into the detail where they can make a differences. And that's basically take a lot of time and effort.
Yes, so indeed, engaging the supplier in the journey is absolutely key. So you can collect the data yourself if you have the information about how the product was made, how the product was distributed up to you. But you need your suppliers to be involved, and that's also why we're seeing actually a lot of companies doing this exercise of life cycle analysis is because their clients are asking them to do it. So there's a big supply chain effect where everybody, by asking these questions to their suppliers, are making the supply chain greener and more sustainable in the future. Maybe you can describe the customer journey that you had with Greenly from your perspective. Like how did it work? How did it start? How did you run the project?
Sure. I think from Lyreco perspective, our collaborations with Greenly has been fruitful and I think mutually beneficial from both ends. I think we worked together for the past almost 2 years now. And then if you look at the more specific, that just now I talked about the challenge on data collections process, it is really a central piece to make sure this project success. And also it need basically a clear structure and flexibility from both sides. From Greenly side is from our side as well. Overall, I think for the past 2 years, Greenly able to provide a very clear, very structured process to help us to go through all this collection process with different type of product category that we work with. And it's also helped us to filter out all the data outliner in a very, very large amount of data set that we have. So that's actually helped us on two things, to really monitor the quality of the data that we have, and also helping us to really collect the insightful data. At the same time as well, Lyreco, like we mentioned, we are working with a various range of a product category. Some of them, it could be new to Greenly as well. So we also had the opportunity to share our product knowledge, and it's also helped Greenly to contextualize all these data points to refine the right calculations model for some of the category.
Great. And what is the data that was required to carry out the LCA on the product sold?
Overall, I think that it depends on to understanding the objective of the calculations. Take an example, do you plan to do the calculations for cradle to gate or cradle to grave? In our case, we are planned to doing cradle to grave. Therefore, more data is needed. Example, different types of raw materials, some of the production site where it based, because that have a different emissions linked to it as well. How we transport the products from one location to different locations, and also end of life, where we sell, and what will be the general ways that basically the end of life system will take away. Yeah. So these are a couple of important points that we collect.
Great. And on the results side, what are the key insights that you gained from measuring this carbon impact? How did it influence your strategy or your actions?
I think strategy is quite clear in a very, very early stage. However, this result is actually give us really a tools to where we can work with. I think it gives you really a visibility into what are the major emission hotspots on different type of product category we work with. I think, for example, some of them, the impact are mainly linked to the raw materials or the production site. On another hand, some of them are pure because of the use phase. So therefore, this insight allow us to really have a fact-based conversations with our suppliers to really put it on the table to say, look at this. These are the challenge that we face. How can you basically take your product innovations and take these into the considerations and make it a reduction effort? And so far, I have to say, based on the value that we see in 2025, we decided to scale up the whole calculations, cover almost all of the key category. It's still a process, but definitely something that we see the added value to do so.
Good. And in terms of your customers, which is probably one of the reasons why you got into LCA in the first place, what are the benefits that they seek? And have they started taking decisions differently because of this transparency on the supply chain?
Although we are very early stage at this moment, but so far the feedback from customer is very, very encouraging. So they are really would like to know or would like to understand the carbon hotspot in their purchase. And this data is really allowed them to really look beyond only the price and the product's performance that they have now. So it's really additional parameter that they would like to use doing their future purchase. Again, very, very early stage. We also basically go through this journey together with our customer to make sure that they are making the right decisions, not only focus on one parameter.
And so in this sense, you're a leader of the new world where customers will not only indeed look at features and price, but also the impact. So because they have this information with you, maybe they won't go to other competition where they don't, to your competition where they don't have this information, because you make transparency the standard in your industry.
I think we are just, like we mentioned, maybe we are the first one that, doing this, but I'm sure the rest of our competitor will follow and doing the similar things as well. So for me, is I really hope that the whole industry will working on this, which means that the decarbonizations across the different actor will be much more impactful.
Great. Congratulations on leading the way. And in terms of the future, then, what are the next steps for this approach and for sustainability at Lyreco?
I think I will give the tips a little bit away as well. Yeah, definitely we want to scale out these calculations to cover almost all of the product category that we sell. This is the major efforts and major focus for us, and it actually requires a significant efforts, resources for the coming 1 or 2 years. We do not expect that it will be a simple, easy project, but something that really fully commit to it.
Okay, so for you, it's realistic with a solution like ours to get 100% of your portfolio in 2 years.
Yeah, I think from both sides. I think Greenly also has been very, very flexible and very, very agile in this journey. So this is what I believe that we can achieve that together.
I love it. And what advice would you give other retailers or resellers who want to launch a similar initiative?
I think advice might be a very strong word here, but I'm happy to share that what we learned from our past experience as well. I think one thing that we definitely did right is really start small, not start focusing all sort of a category. We start with only one category that we have a lot of enough knowledge and a lot of data available, and that's just where we start and identify the key different data gaps. So use it as a learning phase. Once we did that well, then it allowed us to test our process. It allowed us to evaluate the reaction from suppliers. It allowed us to basically have a meaningful conversation with our customer. And this is where we change our approach in the meantime as well, before we really scale up.
So start small and scale from there.
That's what we believe.
Great. No, but every small step counts. So it's always the hardest to do. It's getting started, getting on the boat, and when you start doing it, which is something that sounds very hard, in the end it becomes easier, and then we can scale it easily. I think it's time for the questions from the assembly. So I've asked a lot of questions, but maybe everyone that's listening to us right now have any. So There is a questions section next to the chat, so don't hesitate to ask questions. I see that we already have 2 of them. So let's start with Christophe's question. Other than carbon emissions, what other impacts Lyreco did include in their LCA analysis?
At this moment, we start with a carbon impact, but we see that, can everybody hear me right? Just to be sure, before answering.
I hear you anyway.
Okay, good. So now we start with the carbons, and we definitely believe that water consumption will be the next factor that we will add in.
Good. Next question from Ines. What to do when some suppliers in the value chain don't have data that you need?
If I'm going to be very, very open, this is our types of rule internally. You will see 20-80. Only 20 of supplier will start this journey. The rest of the 80 will be very reluctant and wait for it. And this is what we did, is basically really identify these 100% and then start with tackling on that 20% of the supplier that are willing to go with us. The rest of the 80, we kind of wait a little bit and then go back to them in the coming period of time.
Yes. And do you think in a couple of years you might stop working with a supplier that's not collaborating to this approach?
I do think that's come from 2 sides. I think that the reason why we are stopping is not because of our decisions, but I think have to do with the end customer. You can see that the customer purchase behavior changed quite significantly. When people are able to take this into the considerations in their purchase journey, they will make a different decisions. Then some of the supplier, they miss out the whole opportunity.
So to be future-proof, they need to collaborate, basically.
Sooner and later. That's what I believe.
Next question from Louis. Did Lyreco pursue LCAs to meet changing clients' demands or proactively as a unique selling point?
I don't think it will say which one come first. I think it kind of come in at the very similar time frame, I think. One thing is really a customer demand, and another side, like we mentioned, because we step into this topic a bit early than our competitor, that's why we're also promoting it as well.
Great. Question from Karen. Are you able to provide a specific example of one product and its identified journey from cradle to grave?
What we can do is we can share basically a link after these webinars. So definitely you can able to see this information.
Good. Any studies on the byproducts of the raw materials?
This is a very broad questions. Perhaps I need a little bit detail to understand it before I answer this one.
Yes, I don't fully get it either. Sorry, info. Jacob asks, somewhat off topic, but I am not familiar with Greenly and other ESG software, but you would help create an LCA for an infrastructure project, or is it mainly tailored to products and services? No, of course, there are LCAs for many things, so projects, product, services. For example, we even have a calculators for the cinema industry that has been certified, where we measure the prospective carbon footprint of a movie that is made, and then we measure once the movie is finished. We compare the emissions to the budget, a bit like you would do with a finance business plan. And yes, so an infrastructure project is clearly something, or a construction work, extra. It's really something that people do LCAs for. So not at all off topic. Nima Shah, is your LCA then following up a verification process also? Would it be a LCA verification or a product carbon footprint verification?
These are very good questions. Definitely depends on which customer that you serve. Definitely verification process are relevant for B2B segment.
How difficult was it to get suppliers engaged in this process? My company is also a brand, not a manufacturer. And my biggest struggle is getting suppliers to invest in collecting LCA data. So you mentioned it, Annie. Do you want to reiterate on the pain of getting the customers on board?
I feel you, Mark. And definitely, even internally, I receive a lot of very similar questions across my procurement functions as well. Again, 2080. So let's focus on that 20, and that's make every single step count.
Do you have a feeling that you've integrated sustainability into the core of your business at Lyreco and not just as a nice to have? And if so, what are the main arguments to convince the shareholders, the stakeholders, not shareholders?
I strongly believe that we are really focused on this one, and the focus is not really on one side or only one function. It's really from the top down. Sometimes when I have a conversation with my senior managements, the decisions can make quite easily because they strongly believe in it, and that's make quite a difference and quite interesting to work with Lyreco. What are the main arguments to convince a stakeholder? I would say sustainability as a topic itself is really complex, and really explain the long-term impacts or long-term risks or long-term value add to the stakeholder is one of the important key points. A lot of times people just believe that sustainability happen in one day. I do not believe it. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to build it up layer by layer. So therefore, engagement, being very open, being very transparent with your internal stakeholder would be the way to go.
Yes. And I feel a lot of you that are working in sustainability will probably feel it, but working in sustainability is all about convincing others, engaging people in the journey towards a greener future. So this is clearly a question that everybody has: how to engage my boss, their boss's boss, and everyone to be aligned with what I do. How can they understand the benefits? So this is something that we work a lot on with our customers to help them educate their stakeholders and make sure that they can actively champion sustainability within their companies. We have a question from Henry. Is Lyreco able to conduct LCAs internally and in collaboration with suppliers, or do you rely on a third-party practitioner for compliance and verification?
We are not conduct this LCA internally. We are working very, very closely with Greenly. That's where the most expertise on the archetypes and all the elements of in the methodology come from. We are basically more focused on really collecting the data and collaborate with our suppliers, or some of them in some category, we have quite a good data internally as well. So that's where we work on.
Exactly. So yes, Lyreco is working with Greenly to simplify and to scale these LCAs to all of their products more smoothly. Next question is from Matt. At Lime Sustainable Supplies, we have been doing independent LCAs, carbon footprint and scope 4 carbon savings for 2 years. How do you position yourself amongst the green marketing noise that exists to show that you're different to the greenwashing happening in the marketplace?
I think greenwashing is a topic or green bashing on another round as well. It will be follow us for the coming 2 to 3 years at least. And I think always we need to be true to ourselves. Are we being open and transparent? I think that's the way to go.
Thank you. What are the legal implications for making sequestration claims? Our attorneys have mentioned nuisance lawsuits or threats of lawsuits becoming more common in California. Is there a way to protect ourselves from these nuisance lawsuits?
Letitia, please help me out. I'm not sure how I should answer this one. From which which perspective?
I mean, I'm not an attorney here, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how to protect yourself from the nuisance lawsuits. So happy to explore. We have lawyers internally, but on this one, I must say I cannot answer as well. So I think that's all the questions we had so far, but maybe we want to give a minute to our listeners to maybe ask new questions. In the meantime, maybe Amy, if people listening to us since the beginning must take out with them maybe 3 key message from what we discussed today, what would be those 3 takeaways?
Start small, scale up later, so you can learn along the process. And second one that I would say is that do not expect engage your supplier and they will say yes immediately. So this journey will take time. However, every step counts. And then the third one is really find a partner that can help you to understand the whole overall from objective that you want to achieve, from how to calculate, from the process. I believe you need a partnership here. It takes us a lot of time to find a right partner to help us out to scale this up.
And we are very happy to be your partner on this. So thank you for trusting us. And if anyone else wants to work with us on scaling LCAs and having an impact, being a leader in their industry by taking all of their ecosystem into a more sustainable future, we're here. We're happy to help. And I see a final question on Greenly. Is it made based on CIMA Pro or EcoInvent databases? So we have multiple databases, some that are public, some that are private, some that we made. We have a team of researchers that creates emission factors every day. So in total, we have about 300,000 emission factors for LCAs. So or impact factors, because it's not only emissions. So we rely on a lot of databases to be the most precise possible. Other question, for how many products has Lyreco conducted an LCA, and what is the average time for conducting?
At the first part will be easier. The second part, I will try to explain it in a way that makes sense. We have around 5,000 product has been calculated with the calculations. Average time per conduct is depends how you split the categories. Depends on the archetype. I give an example. If it's in the same category and you have quite a good quality of data, then you basically can go in one shot. So that would be really, really easy. However, take an example, you have 5,000 product across, let's say 600 category, then it really takes time to basically to collect the data based on different archetypes and do the calculations. So yeah, it depends on which products that you're working on.
Thank you very much, Amy. We don't have any more questions, so maybe we can terminate this webinar a bit earlier. So maybe I give 5 minutes or maybe a bit less for any question in case somebody is typing before we finish. But anyway, Amy, it was fantastic having this webinar with you. I hope everybody here appreciated the answers and found out more about LCAs. As I mentioned, we're always here to help. Don't hesitate to contact us for anything LCA, GHG, ESG related. We cover a lot of aspects of sustainability at Greenly. But yeah, LCAs is a very interesting one that takes the full cycle of the full life cycle and has a deep value in the value chain. So this is a product we love. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice end of the day for those in CET. And see you next time at our next webinars.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.